Good evening, Madge. Well, as often happens for me anyway, when I started looking up all the different kind of body weight exercises I can do and all that kind of stuff, I got way too into it. Just let myself be overcome by the massive amount of information you can find. Um, I just use one website that I used before, which is theartofmanliness.com. I'll have a link attached to out in the the comment section. We'll see it first time I'm doing it. We'll attach a link, and it's got a lot of good articles just about living life and exercising. Um, but just kind of got overwhelmed, and then I was just like, okay, come on, just KISS acronym, keep it simple, stupid. And I was like, okay, what's something that I used to always do, like when I was a missionary for 2 years in Spain, and other stuff. And I realized, I don't have a schedule, especially getting downsized out of a job. I'm just, kind of super free with my time, and I haven't had that in a while. And so I've realized that if I don't have a structure, either imposed or self-imposed, I don't do as well. So it's like, okay, let's keep it simple. Something that no matter what my structure is, I can pop it out, and even if I don't do anything else, I can be like, hey, I did this. So just push-ups, sit-ups. Well, started to do sit-ups, and I realized can't really do them like I used to, and it hurt. And it's like, well, that's not the point of exercising. Yeah, some pain because because when you exercise, you're literally tearing your muscle fibers, and then they repair themselves and they're stronger, which is why you get muscle pain afterwards. Uh, so, but when you're just barely doing it and it hurts a lot, that's not good. So I just settled with doing crunches and leg lifts. Of course, with my crunches, I don't let my shoulder blades. I go to my shoulder blades are almost off the ground because I don't want to use my lower back muscles or any of my hip flexors, because I'm just wanting to focus on my abdominal muscles and my core muscles because those are my weakest ones. Same thing with the leg lifts. Make sure that I've got tension on my stomach, but then I'm not activating any of my hip flexors or extensors when I'm doing this. And then to keep myself with enough body weight, I have my hands up above my head like this so that I'm not being pulled up by the leg raises. And I only lift up enough, but if I start to feel like myself being lifted off, then I stop because I don't have enough strength. When I had enough strength and I was focusing on the core, I would where you sit up in a V, kind of like this, and then you just kind of fold in and balance, and that was really great. But I don't have the strength, don't have the muscles to do that right now, so didn't do it. And with push-ups, I just was like, well, full correct push-ups, and that's really important when you're doing any exercises, is to know how to do it the proper way. And then you can look up how to lessen the intensity of doing that if you can't. I did, the perfect push-up position, I did 10, and that was it. I'm like, wow, I'm really out of shape. And so I was like, well, we can, subset it out. So I do like 6 and do like 3 sets of 6, or I could push a little further, do like 8 or 9 and do sets and have some rest in between, because since it's an anaerobic exercise, if you're doing them quickly, even doing your slowly, there's still some anabolic or anaerobic, anabolic, which means there's not enough oxygen going to your muscles. And so if you rest, it gives time for the blood to pull out all of the byproducts that happen when you exercise, and to bring oxygen back to the muscles so they can recover. And that's the main difference between aerobic and anaerobic exercises. Anaerobic means your body's not getting enough oxygen to process the ATP, which is the energy unit your body uses. And so it uses other ways to do that, which is usually your proteins and your carbs. And aerobic, it gives oxygen enough time to be included in the process of generating your your energy units of ATP, and so that lets you burn fat more, which is why zone 2 on the heart rate is one of the best ways to lose fat, is because it's still aerobic, but it's also intense enough that it works out your cardiovascular system and strengthens it, and it gets it better. And it doesn't involve anaerobic, which produces more byproducts that aren't as good for you, for your body, and that's why your muscles hurt a lot when you do like HIIT. HIIT's really good on the anabolic, and other things where you're hitting out really fast and doing that on anabolic exercises. So they each have the purpose, and you can always research more on it and look more into it. But there's just a lot of information out there, and so I was like, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And it was just like, okay, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, swap out some lunges. And so I just did a baseline. So I did 10 on my push-ups, 20 for the crunches, 20 for the squats, and the same equivalent for the lunges. And so, but squats and lunges, they use a lot of the same major muscle groups, so they're not something that I currently would do together on the same amount, or if I did, I would make it so that they're part of a set rotation. So in other words, I do my push-ups, my sit-ups, and then I do my squats, and then I can rotate and do my push-ups, leg lifts, and lunges, just to kind of change it up. And then that's it for now. We're going to just make sure I can do that, because that's something takes me 10-15 minutes. I get some kind of exercise in, and that's just kind of what I'm looking for right now. And then I can add on to it. I can swap out, add some cardio, add some calisthenics, add some other exercises in. And then I mentioned last time that, kind of combat ready, and I used the Art of Manliness because they have some lists of kind of what the military used to use for their physical assessments for, like, from World War II, and they also have links to the modern one. But you can just look it up online, and you can see what the different branches of the military have as their kind of their military guidelines, because that's, even if you're just a desk jockey in the military, there's certain fitness levels you've got to take and pass to not necessarily stay in. I mean, but if you get a lot of bad ones of those, then they kind of do a review on you. But it's kind of part of your performance review kind of thing, at least how I understand it from some of my friends that are in the military, and just in kind of some of the conversations we had when we talked about exercise and fitness. So, but yeah, so just I looked at that and I was just like, hey, I'm looking at all these exercises, because there's body weight exercises that target every major muscle group, every muscle group that you can have. And so there's plenty of resources out there, but the problem is that, like, at least me, I love to get into it, but then I get so into it that I don't do anything about it, because I'm like, oh, there's just so much. There's just so much, I don't know what to do with it. Or there's so much and I just can't decide. So I'm like, hey, that's just to keep it simple, and also with push-ups, there's many different variations to do. And there's also some books that I remembered that I'm going to look into and see what I can find there. And then I was thinking back to my college classes I had, since I was a pre-med, but I was focusing more on my chiropractic, so a lot of anatomy, a lot of physiology, but then kinesthetics, kinesiology. And so if you wanted to get more technical with it, or you just wanted to know a little bit more how your body and motion works, then I would recommend studying some kinesiology, because because it has anatomy, but it focuses on your anatomy and emotion, which exercise has motion involved in it. So you can use that to kind of study, hey, this is how my muscles and my ligaments my joints move. So if you want a better understanding of why certain exercises work the way they do, that's a good kind of all-inclusive study or class that you could take if you're interested more in that kind of a thing. So anyway, have a good night. Best luck on those exercises.